Good morning and welcome to Coffee with. And I am joined to introduce himself, but for right now, let me go ahead and get set up here. Let's see. I've got my notification that Rich Brown is live. Let's see here. So far, we got one person joining us. Good morning. Oh, Julie, good morning. Glad to have you. Please like and share as we get rolling here. We got folks jumping on. If you're jumping on, I've got Will Parker, retired naval officer, self-defense instructor, firearms dealer, instructor extraordinaire with us this morning. And in just a moment, I'm going to ask Will to introduce himself to the audience. But before I do, hit that like and share button. Share this feed with somebody that needs it because we got a good show in store for you today. All right, let's see who's joining us. Will, we got Julie is here. Gary is here from Norman, Oklahoma. Jeff Day, my old partner, Jeff Day. Julie says, thank you for your service. Donald is on from Texas. Coin number 1499. If you're a coined member of the American Warrior Society, please throw your coin number up. Whether you're a coin member or not, please let me know where you're joining us from this morning. I always enjoy that. Clint Houchins. We were in the Marine Corps together. Good morning, Clint. All right, Will, please introduce yourself to the audience, if you would, sir.
Well, I'm Will Parker. I grew up in a really small rural community farm in western Michigan, and I was called to Montana literally my entire life. I joined the Navy straight out of high school. I was destined to join the Marine Corps, but it was the Navy that was dealing with Muammar Gaddafi when he was being an idiot back in 1986. So I said, well, if the Navy's dealing with it, then I'm going to join the fight. And I joined the Navy. And of course, by the time I got out in the fleet, that was long over with. So I ended up being in the Navy for 25 years. The last 3 of that, I was sent over to work for the Marine Corps and do good stuff there. I served in ship's company on 3 guided missile cruisers, 1 guided missile destroyer, and 1 aircraft carrier. I've been around the world 7 times and halfway around another 6. My wife and I and our 5 dogs live out in the woods in the mountains in northwest Montana, just outside of Kalispell, and about 45 minutes from Glacier National Park. And I'm a professional instructor teaching concealed carry, defensive shooting, use of force law, and I teach realtors how to be safe in their profession as well. And I just recently developed, but haven't quite launched, a home assessment and a self-protection assessment and home defense plan consultation service.
Oh, very cool. And as you can tell, Will, along with every guest we've had on so far on Coffee with the Rich, are American Warrior Society members. So thank you for being a member, Will. Hey, real quick, let's see who's on here. Let's see. John is on from Oklahoma. Coin number 1919. Bob Bill. Bob knows a little bit about Montana. Coin number 26. That's incredible. JD is on. Good morning, Jimmy. Coin number 1966. Dan is on. Coin number 1968 from Flower Branch, Georgia. Good to have you, Dan. We're going to take a share break real quick before we get too much further into today's show. When I posted that you were coming on this morning, Will, I said, I was trying to think, how do I encapsulate you into a soundbite? And I just put self-defense instructor and left it at that. And it reminded me of the Marine Corps wanted me to go on and promote this women's self-defense clinic that they had paid me to put together. This was way back in the early 90s. So they're like, hey, Sergeant, you're going to go down to the TV station WATE, and you're going to give a 30-minute presentation on all this stuff. Okay, and that's about all the public affairs officer told me. I got down there, and the 2 hosts of the show were like, good morning, are you the self-defense guy? I'm like, yeah, I guess I'm the self-defense guy. So you're the self-defense guy this morning. All right, let's see who else is on here. Vicky is on. Hey, good morning, Vicky. Ty is on. Jared is on. Jared knows a little bit about Montana too, man. It's good to have all these Montana people on this morning because I will be in Montana here in 2 weeks and I cannot wait to get back. Okay, let's see here. You said a moment ago, Will, when we were doing your background and your bio, that you were destined to join the Marines. Why did you say that?
Well, from the time I was a little boy, I wanted to be a Marine. My best friend's dad was a Marine, and he fought in Vietnam, and he was a excellent man. He was just one of those men who was just a really good man, and he talked highly of the Marine Corps. And I just would sit in school and just there was a big poster next to me where I sat in history class, and it had, it was all Marine Corps, and I just, man, one day I'm going to be a Marine Corps officer. And well, it never happened, but I got to be a naval officer in the Marine Corps. I just really wanted to serve my country and join just an excellent branch, and the Marine Corps is an excellent branch. We're all excellent branches, but
yeah,
the Marine Corps, there's just something different about the Marine Corps.
I don't think I've ever talked about this, but my exposure to the Marine Corps was my mother's brother. Danny was a Marine, killed in Vietnam when he was 18 years old. Matter of fact, I think he was 3 weeks past his 18th birthday when he was killed with 2-4 Golf Company in Vietnam. So I grew up with my mother hated the Marine Corps, and she, of course, me and my brother both grew up enjoying the Marine Corps. But and the only father that I knew who was a Marine was my good friend. I won't say his last name, Steve's father. And the guy was a complete psycho. He ended up, one day we were at school and they called him to the office. His father had escaped from VA mental hospital, went home and committed suicide. So I grew up kind of the opposite, man. I didn't have a good Marine role model until I got a job. And then my manager was a Marine, and he really, like the experience you had, Will, showed me what an incredible man the Marine Corps could produce. So, if it hadn't been for John Alexander, my manager, and I don't know that I would have had the same takeaway with the Marine Corps that I did and ultimately joined, Donald says, I heard Western Montana's tactical training offers great training.
That I don't know. I've never been there.
Yeah,
I'll
sure.
go with they do until I know otherwise.
Scott says, hey, Rich. Julie says, God bless and prayers. Hey, please like and share. Let's take a quick like and share break. Share this into someone's feed that needs this information. So, Will, what when you first came in, you were enlisted and you later became an officer. What does that path look like, and why did you choose to do that?
Well, in the end, he who has the most money wins. Money isn't everything, but it's right up there with oxygen. And I didn't know it at the time, but when I was a young screaming seaman, I didn't know that I would never want to work for anybody after I retired from the Navy. So I worked really hard. I became a staff NCO pretty early in my career compared to most. I was really focused on getting promoted and being the best at my MOS that I really could be. So really the place to be on a guided missile warship was to be in the air defense side, because everything is so fast there. So after a couple of years, I got shifted over to air defense, running tactical data links. Early got qualified to run the air defense section and be in charge of that while I was on watch, so to speak, instead of actually being in charge of it, just while I was on watch. Then I transferred to another guided missile warship where I really got a lot of opportunities. I pre-commissioned the Shiloh. I was on the Texas first, pre-commissioned the Shiloh. Really went places there. I left there and I got to be an instructor, which is where I actually started my instructor career in 1994 in Morristown, New Jersey, at the test and evaluation site for the Aegis weapon system. And I got to teach there all the pre-com crews that came through. And as you know, Rich, you just you just grind it out. You grind out those long days, and you work really hard. And one day, a board decided that I was one of 22 to be selected that year. And one day I was a staff NCO, and the next day I was an ensign.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. So, Will, you were a limited duty officer, and we won't get down into the weeds of what that means because it's confusing, even if you've been in the military a long time. It's like, what does that mean? So there's no sense in trying to explain that now. But you retired as what was your rank? Commander?
I was a lieutenant in the Navy,
Lieutenant,
captain in
right.
the other branches.
That's right. So you became an instructor first in the Navy on the Aegis weapon system, I think you said. But how did that lead into being a concealed carry instructor, which is part of what you do in Montana? One of the many things that you and your company teaches up there. How did that happen?
Well, I really attended my very first concealed carry course back in 1998 when I was stationed in Jacksonville, Florida. It really ended up turning into a what if. You know, we've all seen it. All of us who teach anybody for any type of self-defense and any use of force law. Well, what if? Well, what if? Well, what if? And it was really just a group of people who, since it's so long ago, I can't tell you how really good it was. But there were a group of guys who worked in a gun shop. They had a shooting range, and they had, it was Jacksonville, Florida. There was nearly 1 million people there at the time, and tried to do good things. And then in 2007, I caught the bug of competitive shooting, and I started competitive shooting. I went to assist at the national championships in 2007 out in Tulsa, Oklahoma, at USSA, where Michael was working. I decided that after I got transferred to the Marine Corps in 2008, I saw an opportunity that, the NRA had an instructor class available relatively nearby me, along with an RSO course, and I attended that. But it really wasn't what I wanted to do, and I didn't know that until after I attended it. And then I went to the SHOT Show I was at the SHOT Show at 2013, and I ran into the operations manager he at the time was the director of training at the USCCA, and I also met the executive director of Concealed Carry Magazine, and I was a USCCA member then. They took a liking to me, and they said, hey, we're going to stay in touch with you because we got something happening soon. They notified me later that year and told me that the certified instructor program was rolling out, and I already actually had the curriculum, but I'd never taught it because I opened up and I looked at it and I said, well, I don't know what this really means. It's a little more in depth than my depth of knowledge was. So I attended that. I was among the very first people, kind of like a plank owner, so to speak, of the instructor program, and that's really where I started it, was with the USCCA.
And for those that don't know, what is USCCA, please?
It's the United States Concealed Carry Organization. It is a national training organization, and it focuses on concealed carry and training responsibly armed Americans.
Gotcha. Good. Well, good morning to the 30 that are joining us. If you're just jumping on, I'm speaking to Will Parker. Will is a retired naval officer and concealed carry instructor, defensive tactics instructor. He is a really incredible instructor. We'll talk more about his instructor credibility here in just a moment. Let's welcome the folks that are joining us here. Jim is on from South Bend, Indiana. Good morning, Jim. Gerald has joined us from Oregon, coin number 952. My cousin Roman is on. Good morning from Atlanta, Georgia. David is on. Good morning, David. Got something in the mail for you there, David. It's coming your way. I think you'll enjoy it. John is on, coin number 912 from Oklahoma. And Zeb has joined us. Good morning, Zeb. Thank you to the 26 folks on. Please like and share. I'll give you just a moment to hit that share button and share it into a group, share it on your feed, somebody that needs this information, because we're going to talk about some of the ways that you can stay safe as a concealed carrier in America, because we have some pretty crazy times going on right now. So let me give you just a moment to do that. Going to go, Will, you were talking about your first ever concealed carry course. And I remember back in 1995, concealed carry was just becoming a thing in just a small handful of states. In my state, I'd just gotten out of the Marine Corps, and I attended my first concealed carry course in 1995. And the video part of the one-day class that we had to attend was every scenario that ended in deadly force started with someone spitting on the concealed carrier. I don't know why. I find it humorous to this day that that was the only scenario. It would be a stranger in a dark alley spits on you, or you're getting out of your car and a homeless man walks up and spits on you. There were 6 or 8 different scenarios, and every single one of them started this way. So I left there going, wow, I've never been spit on. I'm not even sure what I would do. Is that assault? Where does that fall in? They never really addressed it. Like what just happened? But they would always just talk about the shooting, but never talk about what led to the shooting. So my point of saying that is that night I go to work. It was a Saturday that happened. And I went to work as a bouncer that night, me and Mike Seeklander. We were one of probably 4 or 5 bouncers at this giant nightclub called the Underground. And we get there and the whole day I'm playing the what if game, but I'm like, you know what? I can't figure it out. I don't know what spitting looks like. At the time, I'm 25 years old. I've never been spit on. I've got years to figure this out before I have to deal with it. Guess what happened that night? Somebody spit on me. Yeah. And so it's funny. We took this guy out the front door, and he spits right on my club shirt. And I look down at it and I just start laughing. I'm like, I have no idea what I'm supposed to do now, because my what if thinking had not got me to this is the appropriate response. So I just start laughing. And he spit on me a second time, and well, he tried to. It missed my face, but I'm like, okay, now I know what to do. And he was taken down, and we got the police involved, and off he went to jail. But it's just funny, the classes, and I've taken a few. I've took one in South Carolina class, and then when I got out of the Marine Corps, I took the newer one here in Tennessee. And man, those classes, they run the gamut from being really well done to not good at all. What have you seen, Will?
I actually spent some time. I used to go and audit courses. I paid to audit courses because I knew I was going to learn something. It's just like in the Marine Corps and in the military. You can learn something from a really good leader and from a bad leader. You learn stuff. So I attended courses. I don't attend those courses that are not high-end courses anymore. My money is better well spent on the really high-end instructors. And like in 2013, 14, I was starting to figure out who was who in the self-defense industry, like Masayub and Tom Gibbons and Michael Seeklander and Rich Brown and Rob Pincus and Andrew Branca, Lee Weems, Craig Douglas, Dr. William April, folks like that. I really started to figure that out. So that's really where I focus all my money. I attend as many classes a year as I can either afford or think I can get ahead of to pay for later, because I just want to offer the absolute best training. And those other people, they don't attend those high-end courses to really come back and teach. And I think they do a disservice to their community if they don't do that.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I met you the first time, about 5 years or so ago up in Montana. You were attending one of Mike's courses, and Mike had brought me in to help do some coaching. And that's the first time I met you. And I was really impressed with your professionalism, and your shooting abilities were, top shelf. And I just developed a liking to you immediately. But I want to dig into some of your background. And if you have a question for Will, please throw it in here, whether it deals with concealed carry, self-defense, or the law of self-defense, which you are a certified instructor on the law of self-defense through attorney Andrew Branca. Tell us about that. How did you get involved with that?
Well, it was probably around 2014. I was reading somebody's book. I think it was one of Masayub's books. I learned about Andrew. I got online. I ordered his book. Then I reached out to him, I think via email, and I invited him up to my place to teach a class. I built my own training facility with instructor quarters, so they don't have to go anywhere. So I invited Andrew to come in. I had about 31 people agree to come, and he was still living in Concord, Massachusetts at the time. So it was quite pricey for him to come out. He came out, taught the class, and I'd already became a law self-defense instructor and completed the program by then. By the time I could get him up here, he had launched the program. And I still was like, wow, this is so much information. It's so in depth. I need him to come again. So I invited him the next year and the next year. So he's been here and taught 4 classes in 3 different trips. I think that if we're going to carry a gun, we owe it to ourselves to at least go through Andrew's level 1 instructor program. And if we're use of force, or if we're concealed carry or defensive instructors, I think we owe it to our students to go through the level 1, the level 2, and the instructor program, because there's just so much to the law of self-defense, and people don't know it. And I run into attorneys, I run into other folks in the legal community. It could be the executive branch, like law enforcement officers, or other instructors who really don't know. And as we know, there's so much disinformation out there on the internet, or incomplete information on the internet that's taken out of context. People don't really understand when they can and when they can't use deadly force against another person. And you're talking about not just possibly dying, but spending 20 years to the rest of your life in prison for making a poor decision and not going away. And Andrew offers, legal training every single week, current events. So you can see, he provides, kind of like Paul Harvey, the rest of the story on certain things from the legal standpoint as well. And I think we owe it to ourselves as trainers and people in our community who look up to us to offer them quality legal training.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Will. And we got 32 folks joining us on live. Welcome to Coffee with Rich. Please like and share right now. We're going to take a quick share break before we dig in a little bit more on the law of self-defense, because I think I agree with you. This is one of the most misunderstood, least talked about facets of the concealed carry, and that is the legal use of force. For some reason, a lot of people, their eyes glaze over when they hear it, but it's not that hard to understand. There's 5 elements to it. And Will, I'm going to ask you to give us a brief rundown on it, just a quick soundbite. But before I do ask you that, Will, I'm going to invite everyone out there, please like and share. And let's make sure that we share this with folks that need this information. Let's see, we got David joining us this morning. He says, good instructor class in Tennessee. We'll get into that. Gerald says his book is a great gift. I guess he's talking about Andrew's book. Jared said, Will always brings excellent instructors to Montana. Gerald says, COVID spitting has hit a new level. Yeah, that could be really bad. Chad says, good morning, gents. Good morning, Chad. Hey, let's have a note with our sponsor real quick. Our sponsor this morning, as always, is Appalachian Standard. Appalachian Standard are craft hemp growers in the beautiful mountains of Asheville, North Carolina. Jesse Ross and I, the owner of Appalachian Standard, we're in the Marine Corps together. He's a retired gunnery sergeant, and they are artisan hemp growers. If you need CBD oil, CBD salves like I use, they have a really cool mentholated salve. I recently almost broke my leg, and it was not pretty, but I've been using the salve, using the hemp oil to help me sleep, help my joints, help my cognitive ability. It really is a good product, and I encourage you to check that out. Gilly is joining us. Good morning, Rich. Good morning, Will. Good morning, everyone. Gilly, of course, is in the Philippines. Clint says, got to run online pre-planning. Keep it up, Rich. Thanks, Clint. Semper Fidelis, brother. So the law of self-defense, Will, talk to me about like the 5 elements and maybe like some of the misunderstanding that comes along with some of the 5 elements of the law of self-defense.
Sure. Well, there are up to 5. It really depends on your jurisdiction if there's 4 or 5. One is imminence. It must be an imminent deadly force threat to you. And Andrew even uses Moss's explanation of ability, opportunity, jeopardy. Those 3 things actually define imminence. And a lot of people only teach imminence as the only element of self-defense. So the attacker must possess the ability against you for death, and that's leading into proportionality as well, which we'll get to. But the ability to cause death or serious bodily harm. They must have the opportunity, so we can think distance or proximity to us regarding it, and then also jeopardy. They must have the at least manifest intent. So based upon their actions of what their intent is against us. And do we know their actual intent? Only if they actually tell us. But words alone are not enough. If someone can say, well, I'm going to K you. I don't even like using that word, but I'm going to kill you. Well, if they don't possess the ability, then you don't meet the AOJ triad, and therefore it isn't an imminent threat against you. So that's one of the fallacies, is that imminence is the only element of deadly force. Another is innocence. You must be an innocent party, and you must be an innocent party the whole time. You can't provoke it. It's not like when we were on the playground as boys, go ahead, throw the first punch. That's provoking. That's against the law in many states. In Montana specifically, that's against the law. You cannot be the initial aggressor in a fight, and you can't kick the can down the road. You can't exacerbate the situation either. So there's imminence and innocence. There's proportionality. That person must be able to provide an imminent, or I should say a deadly force threat against you. Now that could be some sort of tool that they're using. It could be an exceptional fighting ability. Could be a disparity of force that is proportionality as well to cause you death or serious bodily harm. Also, there is avoidance. This is one that may be taken off the table when it comes to stand your ground law, for example, that may be removed. And a lot of people think that, well, there's a misunderstanding with avoidance. It's a huge one. Oh, there's a stand your ground law. It's a murder law. No, it's all the other 4 are still there, and they must be met for you to stand your ground, and you must be able to retreat in complete safety. So that's a huge one that is just a complete misunderstanding about. And the last one that people a lot of times don't even mention is reasonableness. And Andrew explains this as it's like an umbrella over all of the other elements of self-defense. Your actions, your perceptions, everything must be that of a reasonable person. And there's subjective reasonableness and objective reasonableness. And I think Moss sums it up very well in his book Deadly Force. And when you attend his Mag 40 training, is what would a reasonable and prudent person do in the exact same circumstances, given what the defendant knew at the time, you being the defendant.
Yeah, that's I've met Moss a couple of times, and I remember reading his books. Wow, back in the early 90s. I mean, he was the only one putting anything out that dealt with that. And I because I don't want to spend the rest of my life in prison, I've probably read almost everything I could get my hands on this, and I've attended Andrew's courses. I can't tell you how many times, and we've brought him out to warrior camp every time we've ran the camp, and it's just really good stuff. And if you're not arming yourself with that knowledge on when and how and why you can use force, man, you are really subjecting yourself to a lot of liability. Robert says, I'll have to visit Will someday. I'm a CCW instructor in Northern Kentucky, but Western Montana is my favorite place in the world. Love the Big Sky area. Walt says, good morning, everyone. And John says, good explanation. Yeah, that was an incredible explanation. Very succinct. And like you said, a lot of people only teach the AOJ triad, ability, opportunity, and jeopardy with those three things, but they are just one piece, as you mentioned, Will, of the element of imminence. So much so that I've heard in the military, a lot of guys will be like, hey, man, this dude was coming over the fence and I saw my window there, and they'll do this. The opportunity was there, the jeopardy was there, and he was getting a good sight picture ready to pull the trigger. And maybe if you're a sentry and you are authorized to use deadly force in a special weapons area or something like that, maybe that is all you need. But for the rest of us, Will, we probably need all of those elements, wouldn't you say?
I agree. And that's where we fall into a lot of folks. You know, they think that concealed carry is all about the gun, and it's not. I run into a lot of, you know, folks in the military just say, well, I was in the military, I know how to shoot a gun. Well, the gun has this much to do with concealed carry until you need it. Then it has this much to do with it. And then when it's done, it has this much to do with it. And they not understanding that the decisions that they're making can send them to prison for the rest of their life. And frankly, you know, we had a different mentality. You know, oh, there's gunfire, let's run to it. And now it's, oh, there's gunfire, how about we go somewhere else? You know, I want to watch my grandson become a man. So
yeah,
I'm going somewhere else if I can.
You know, I thought a lot about this exactly what you're saying. I probably thought a lot about it the last time I went to the United Kingdom. Actually, it was January of this year. It seems like it was a long time ago, and I thought, Will, like, okay, if I get in trouble here with a use of force issue, I'm probably going to get bail. I'm going to be able to come back and sleep in my own bed. If I'm in a bad use of force situation I was in Italy last year, I was in the UK in January, December and January of this past. If I do something wrong over there, man, they're not going to let me leave the country. I'm going to be stuck over there and my family's going to have to leave, and I'm probably not going to, it just creates a whole host of problems that I think we would be better served if we thought some of those through and we set our ego aside and go, look, man, it's not worth it. Let's back ourselves out of these problems. When a problem happens, let's be somewhere else.
Absolutely. And I actually use that word in my class. I tell all my students, you know, concealed carry has no place for an ego. Go throw it in the trash. In my classes, since I try to be, you know, agnostic in my classes, I don't say it. I'll say it here. I think ego is an acronym for edging God out. So we should throw our ego in the trash when we're carrying a gun. We have to take crap off from everybody when we go out in public and we're armed.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. That's a great way to look at it. Yeah, if ever you were someone that has a temper, the minute you put that gun on, man, you better leave that crap at the house and be the most polite and professional person that ever lived. Robert has a good thing here, Will. He says, I always ask my students what the definition of a reasonable person is. It is a good question to get them to think critically. I agree with that. What do you think?
I agree. I do something very similar. I find the couple who's been married the longest to the same person in the class, and a lot of times I get like 35 plus years, and I ask them in the last 6 months, have either of you thought the other was unreasonable about anything, even putting the ketchup top on all the way before you put it back in the refrigerator? And I've only had 2 people in all the years and all the students that ever said, no, in the last 6 months, we've never thought the other was unreasonable. And then I point out, well, these are the exception. They're not the jury, you know? So absolutely.
I like that. That's a good one, man. I've been married 32 years. Is that right? 32 years. And I think that's a good way of looking at it. Like, okay, and what about the actions of that your spouse, the person you love, was unreasonable? Let's talk about that and dissect it a little bit. Speaking of dissecting, man, recently you came to the firearms instructor development course put on by Shooting Performance, which is Mike Seeklander's company. And I was there helping Mike teach that week-long course. And with the years and years and years, potentially decades of being an instructor that you have, Will, what did you think of the course? I hate to put you on the spot, but you knew I was going to ask. What did you think?
That's okay. Well, I am glad you moved the date because I had a conflict when it was scheduled in May. The only thing I didn't like was the heat in Oklahoma and the humidity. That was the only thing. And you guys did a great job of punting so that so people from nearly Canada weren't falling out on the range. So thank you very much. I thought it was an absolutely excellent class. For all the instructors listening, if Mike and Rich do an open enrollment for it again, do yourself a favor and go. I thought you guys did a fantastic job because there were people who have been instructors for a long time, and there were people who were there that have been instructors for only a couple of months. And you guys found just some of our weaknesses. I mean, you didn't the folks who hadn't been instructors as long, you were a little bit easier on them, but you still gave them more than their money's worth, picking out the things when we were in the classroom, picking out the things to help them be a better instructor. Plus, everybody got to see everybody teach and get a debrief. So they learned from that as well. The people who are more seasoned instructors, you picked at them and picked them apart a little bit harder, which I know was appreciated. And then we all got the same thing on the range, which was how to really help people, teach people how to run a handgun and an AR platform, which was just phenomenal. You guys don't charge enough. I already gave that as part of my debrief. You don't charge enough. Vicki and I decided that we're going back next year because when you go to a high-end course, you can never get everything out of it in the first iteration or sometimes even the second. So I plan on when you guys post it that I'm going to sign up again. And I believe Vicki's my apprentice, for those of you who don't know. And she is going, and she runs our women's program. We are going to attend because she's really engaged in doing this, and so am I. And I'm looking forward to getting picked apart and mentored and built up, and just really offer a lot more to the people of my community.
Vicki was phenomenal. I really enjoyed getting to know her, and I tell you who else enjoyed getting to know, and he's just joined us on the show today is Ruben. Good morning, Ruben. He says, I get to train with my best friend. Ruben also attended FIDC course out there in Oklahoma, and it was an honor and pleasure to meet you, Ruben, and learn from you as well. And that's another interesting thing about running these instructor development courses is you get to learn from the students, and especially a seasoned group like we had out there. We had everything from a 70-year-old woman that was an instructor in Las Vegas and who hasn't been teaching perhaps that long, to someone like yourself who's very seasoned, to someone like Ruben, who's a very accomplished speaker, Navy EOD, retired officer, who actually operated with DevGru. I mean, the open enrollment course was pretty awesome. And Jeff Day says, Rich, maybe Tennessee next year. The way these courses work normally, for Jeff and everybody else there listening, if you want to find out what Mike Seeklander and Shooting Dash Performance is offering, you can check out the website Shooting Dash Performance. If you would like to host Mike or I, one of your at your range, just jump on his website. There's a form to fill out for that, and we can probably make that happen. What was one of the big takeaways maybe that from the course that you're like, I hadn't really considered this as being that important as an instructor, but maybe now that I'm thinking about it as something that you're going to take on board?
I think, well, I do a lot of instructor development. I think this was a thing for all of us, was your body language has to match your words. And I don't think a lot of people think about that. And there has to be congruency. Like the Marine Corps Combat Hunter Program really talks about that. When your words and your body are not congruent, you listen to the body. And you guys brought that out. And I have almost, I can't even place a a curriculum that I've ever attended that actually made that statement. I've known about it, but I think you guys were the only ones I can put my finger on and say, yes, Michael Seeklander and Rich Brown talked about your body language and your words must be congruent, because you're going to distract the students with your body language because that's what they're seeing, and they're not going to listen to your words. It's monkey see, monkey do is really what it is. And they have to be congruent. You guys really pointed that out. And I think that was something really for every instructor to be aware of that I don't think is brought out enough.
Yeah, that's a great point. And in the past course, so we've taught that course, I don't know, maybe 10 times over the past 6 or 8 years. And like you said, well, that was the first open enrollment. Normally it's military and law enforcement groups bring us out, but there's some tricks that I'll normally do to prove the body language hypothesis, and to get people to really buy in that your body is speaking more than you really are aware of it. And that's what people are listening to. And the fact that you bring it back to the Combat Hunter program, and those folks, if you haven't read the book Left of Bang, and actually we're going to have them on as a guest coming up real soon. At least one of the authors has agreed to come on the show. So I'm pretty excited about that. So stay tuned for that. Amanda says it was a fantastic class. As I said, it should be the standard. Well, thank you so much, Amanda. Amanda, it was a pleasure getting to know you. Amanda attended the training as well and was a phenomenal instructor. Like I told her, she reminded me of Sarah Connor, man. She can run an AR system incredibly well. I was very impressed with your technical ability and your instructorship. So Amanda, well done there. Your students are very lucky to have you. Jean, coin number.
She's a good teammate too. I got to team up with her.
Yeah, she's phenomenal. Jean is on coin number 70 from Iowa, checking in. Glad to have you, Jean. Let's see here. What are your thoughts? And now, Will, I want to be respectful of your time. Let's see. I've had you on here, gosh, for 42 minutes. And we're going to break precedent from everything else we've talked about today. Tell me your thoughts about the state of America right now.
Well, I'm going to be very frank here. I'm not going to pull any punches. While I believe that we're living in a very dangerous time and the virus is dangerous, I really believe that, well, we know it's a man manufactured virus. We already know that, and I really believe it's here to topple the presidency and to topple the United States and the world economy as well. This election is coming up, and I think it's 95 days. I think on Wednesday after, things are going to change. It may take a couple of months for things to really change. We're starting to move into the kinetic phase of civil unrest. It's moving there, which is very unfortunate. I never believed that I would live to see what we're seeing today. And I think it's going to get even more dangerous as the months go on. I live in Sleepy Hollow, Montana, but even Sleepy Hollow, Montana, we are experiencing a lot of unrest. I talked to our deputy chief of police. I think yesterday morning he was out here 6 o'clock in the morning picking up a gun, and talking to him, and he says, "Man, we are just crazy busy. Tourists coming in, outsiders coming in, wreaking havoc intentionally in our small communities. The bigger communities, or the bigger things are, the more exacerbated the problems. It's really bad, and we need, like you guys always tell us, be ready because the fight's coming."
Yeah.
So I know it's opposite. Fight is coming. Be ready. And we have to be ready, mentally, physically, in every way. We have to be ready, and so does our family. I just think it's dangerous times are in our very, very near future.
Yeah, I agree with you. And if you're someone new to this community, the armed community, and you're looking for where to get your training, here's a little sales pitch, guys. Sorry, but check out the AmericanWarriorSociety.com. We have free content on there for you, and we have a training vault with everything you need, from less lethal to firearms, combatives, edge weapons, anything and everything, how to fight in and around vehicles. we got you covered there. So Dr. John Adine is on. Good morning, sir. I'm glad to have you on. Ruben Amador says structure. I guess that's the thing that Ruben took away from the course. How instant change in the ethos for the buying in from students, worth every single mile, hour, and dollar spent. Ruben, thank you. I'm honored your words, sir. Yeah, the things you were saying, Will. I mean, all you got to do is turn on your TV, and I never thought I would see an American political party that's not denouncing the violence and destruction of a federal courthouse. It's absolutely it's unconscionable to me as a retired military officer, as an American who's been around the sun a few times, that to see what's going on here, how the far end of one political party has really taken over and allowed and encouraged this kind of stuff to go on. It's deeply saddening to me. And at this point, I don't even know how we back out of this. As a student of history, all you have to do is look for examples throughout our history and the history of other countries and see where this is heading. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out. So it's disheartening. So let me ask you this, man. Let's turn the page on something kind of positive. And I want to close this out with this. What's the future for Will Parker and what you got going on up there, Will?
Well, business-wise, I really want to grow my business into being a nationally recognized business. I get to travel the country right now. I'm very fortunate for that and do some teaching, but I really want to focus on concealed carry, defensive shooting, legal use of force, and the realtor program that I developed. I developed my own curriculum, so I really want to push that. I am traveling to Chicago to go to the Force Science Institute's instructor class in September. In November, I'm attending Masayib's Deadly Force instructor program. In January, I'm returning and taking Vicki with me to the Range Master Establishing a Dominance Paradigm class. That was an excellent class, an eye-opening class to attend. You and Mike really put on a great class. So I'm going to attend FIDC again in 2021. If it's open enrollment or if I'm invited back again, I'm coming, and I know Vicki intends on coming. So that's those are my business where I'm going, and just being a common man. I'm really working toward being a man worthy of my fantastic wife. Being a good grandfather to my grandson and my future granddaughter that's coming in December, and just being a good man and being worthy of being blessed and being an American.
Wow, I love it. Absolutely love it. Well, let's see here. We'll take the final comments. Anybody got any questions for Will before I'll let him move on with his day? Let's see here. Not let you move on with your day, but Gerald says protesters in Springfield, Oregon, along with Portland, makes you on edge and look at some groups of people differently. Others, as Michael Bain has mentioned. John says they are taking God out of the equation. Yeah, I think that has a lot to do with it. Donald says spot on, Rich. Jared says Will's realtor program is excellent. I'm sure it is. I have no doubt, knowing the level of instruction that Will can provide. Robert says, one of my best friends and training partners was deployed as a federal LEO to Portland. Stories of improvised weaponry shining lasers into the officers' eyes, even radio communication jamming was occurring against our guys. The violent criminal actors out there are adapting, improving, and organizing at a higher level than we have seen here in the United States of America. And I tell you, as someone who took an oath of enlistment as a 19-year-old kid against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and then I took an oath of office as a police officer. We talked about domestic enemies in my oath there, and my oath of office as a commissioned officer in the United States Marine Corps. All list, I took an oath to go against domestic enemies. So to me, that's not off the table. What do we consider an enemy of America? Well, I have to, like you said, with when it comes to one of the elements of imminence is I have to take people at their word. Do they have the means and ability to do the things they say? And they call for the outright destruction of America and the Constitution. They're trying to tear down a federal courthouse. I'd say that qualifies as a domestic enemy to me. So I don't know why we haven't brought the full weight of the federal government down on these people. So I don't understand it, but we'll see what 2021 has to bring us, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Ruben says, highly recommend Will. He has the drive to make a huge impact to his students, committed to his craft, and definitely makes being around him a true blessing. Man, that's high praise from Ruben. I appreciate that. Vicky says, Will is always pushing me out of my comfort zone, and I'm loving it. That's where growth happens, right, Vicky? Gerald says, Oregon citizens welcome the federal officers, as they should. I love that. Will, any parting comments before you head on out into your day?
Actually, yes. I wanted to, I was listening to Craig the Sawman Sawyer, I think it was yesterday. He talked about going back to the state of America, the people like us who have taken an oath, and good Americans who are broaching being done with all of this. Once something happens, there's going to be some event that happens, and then we're going to be fed up with it and done, and something's going to be done then, and there's not going to be any stopping it after that. We're almost to that tipping point where Americans who are more conservative and God-loving and love their country are going to be done with it, and then it's really not going to go well for the other side who wants to destroy America.
Yeah. I should probably do a whole show about one of my ancestors who was a East Tennessee bridge burner during the early days of the Civil War. My family were all East Tennesseans from the mountains. We didn't own slaves. We were Republicans. We didn't want the Confederacy. We rejected it. And one of the things that one of my ancestors, a guy named McDaniel, tried to do was him and a bunch of other saboteurs burned some key bridges to let the Union troops come in. So we can go back there, and most of his friends were hung, and he actually escaped into the mountains of North Carolina to get away and hid out there, as well as my mother's great-great-great-grandfather, Robert Abernathy. He hid in the mountains so that the Confederate raiders wouldn't suck him up into their cause that he didn't agree with. So, folks, if you think it can't happen in America, you need to read your history. It can and will, even in 2020, man. It doesn't matter. The actions that we see taking place have consequences, and all we can do is pray for our great nation, man, and keep preparing our mind and bodies. Would you agree?
I would agree. It's coming.
Yeah. Okay, let's see here. We'll close out the comments here. Vince says, amen, Will. Ruben says, didn't realize I would need a bigger mug to last the whole show. Yeah, I ran out a long time ago, Ruben. Gerald says, this is great to hear. Told my son that yesterday. Amanda Callum says, amen. Thank you to the 38 folks that have joined me and stayed with me this far. I really appreciate it. Thank you to all the people that are going to watch in the replay in the weeks and days to come. We really appreciate it. Will, I'll give you the closing comments, sir.
Rich, I am humbled and honored to be a guest. You and Michael offer a fantastic programs, not just a program, but programs through the American Warrior Society, and share it with your family and friends to get all the content and attend the training, because you're going to close us out with the tagline.
Yeah, the fight is coming, folks. Be ready. God bless.